It's time to predict or to preview the Saturday games of round 2 for Super Rugby. This weekend we have some big games. We have the New Zealand derby, which is the Chiefs versus the Crusaders. We have the Waratahs against the Blues, the Lions against the Reds, then the Stormers against the Bulls. That's a big South African derby. And then the Jaguares versus the Hurricanes, which is actually very early on Sunday morning in South African time. But hey, it still counts as my Saturday preview. If you want to find the timestamps for these games, you can just find them in the comments below or just check them out right next to me. Saturday games start with a big one. It is the Chiefs versus the Crusaders. On a New Zealand front, it is probably one of the most anticipated games of the season. Both of these teams, they are highlighted as contenders for the conference to actually win it. So this game is going to be an important one at the end of the day of who wins it actually. Both teams, they started off their campaign with a victory last week. The Chiefs by 8 points over the Blues, and then the Crusaders just 18 points over the Waratahs. The Chiefs, they are back in Hamilton for this week. The recent history between these two sides is actually 50-50 over the last 10 games. But the Crusaders have won 4 out of the last 5 between these teams. But not the last one. They didn't win in June 2019. A quick look at the two teams just to highlight the big names that have been included or the big matchups between the two sides. The Chiefs backline, they look pretty dangerous. Damien McKenzie, he is back and he's finally back on track. Last weekend he was named in the side, but he was left out at the end. They said he sustained an injury in practice, so hopefully he gets to play this weekend around. Anton Leonard-Brown, he is at 12. It's going to be a massive matchup against Goodhue, I think. Cruden at number 10, he's shifted in from the bench. That's also going to be a big one. Just those 3 players are going to make this quite an exciting game. But that's not all. They also have Wainui, Alomalo and Tupia in that backline of the Chiefs. So they have a dangerous looking pack. For the Crusaders, their backline, they had a little bit of a shuffle now because the most obvious one is Havili at number 10 with Mahunga being injured. I don't know how long he's actually going to be out. They didn't really say. They said it's a minor injury. So we're probably looking at a week or 2. So unfortunately, we don't have Aaron Cruden versus Mahunga. I was actually looking forward to that one for this weekend. But in the end of the day, Havili is still a dangerous playmaker. He is actually a number 15. But at number 10, I think he can still slot in. He kicked very dangerously at the goal last weekend. So I think he can slot in just at the number 10 role. Just play a bit differently than Mahunga does. Jordan, he shifts into number 15 to cover where Havili shifted out. He was immense last week and he was in the dream team. If you want to check that one out, the video is up there. And he makes space for Sevu Reese then coming in at number 14. What a replacement to bring in one of the top scorers for last year. The Chiefs had a couple of injuries up front. In the front row, they have Molly coming in. But the rest of the front row or the rest of the front pack actually looks more or less the same. Look out for that loose forward dominance from the Chiefs, especially with guys like Ardron and Boshier, who are actually the second rowers. They can play like loose forwards in that pack. For the Crusaders, they brought in 2 All Blacks to their front pack. They brought in Taylor and Moody. That's going to strengthen up their front row for sure. And they are added to their 1 All Black that's already in their pack. Barrett already played well last week alongside Dunshire. So I think with Taylor and Moody coming in, that's just going to improve their pack a little bit more. The benches to look out for the Chiefs, they have Geldenhuys. Geldenhuys is just a travelling man at 36. He's been everywhere. In South Africa, he has the record for playing for the most teams in the Currie Cup, so he's doing it over in New Zealand now. Nankivell, also a young guy, really playing well these days. For the Crusaders, they have Michael Alaalatoa on the bench. They have Bryn Hall and then also the guy that they are mentioning to become a All Black one of these days, Fainga Anuku. I think he's going to become a big star. He is a big lad, so why not bring him on? This game looks set to be a New Zealand classic, with both teams probably favouring themselves to win this one. The teams are well matched. The Crusaders, their forward pack is a little bit better, I feel. But the Chiefs, their backs are a little bit better with Cruden against Havili. Havili, yes, he is good, but he is playing out of position, even though he kicked well last weekend. I think the forwards will be equal this weekend, but with the back being the core of how the New Zealanders like playing, with Cruden and Anton Leonard-Brown and Damian McKenzie, I think the Chiefs will win by fives. Betting against the Crusaders, that is probably not a safe move. So let me know your prediction for this game specifically. Next up, it is the Waratahs and the Blues. Both teams, they are coming off losses last weekend, with the Waratahs losing with 18 points to the Crusaders and the Blues losing by 8 points to the Chiefs. So both teams have something to improve on. For the Blues, they looked more promising last weekend for me than the Waratahs. That the Waratahs, they didn't really look to really run with the ball, really score a lot of tries. But the Waratahs, they are at home at the moment. They are playing in Newcastle. History does favour the Blues though. 7 out of 10 in the last 10 games that they have played. The Waratahs last beat the Blues in 2015. A closer look at the sides, just to look at the key changes and the key matchups. The Waratahs backline, it is more or less the same, with Nawa Kwanitawase and Newsom just switching on the wings. I don't know why yet, but they switched. The rest kind of stay the same, and I still think Beale should be playing at 10. Yes, he is better at 15. He is a natural 15, but they need him at 10 at the moment. The Waratahs need a proper number 10. Then for the Blues, they only have one backline change, with Highland coming in for the injured Ioane. That's a massive blow for them. He scored 2 tries on his 50th last weekend. But now they also brought in Talia switching from the one wing to the other, and Highland going into number 14. Talia, he impressed last week as well, so I think he can just build on that in Ioane's spot. The key matchups in this backline, I think the centers are going to be an important one. Fayane versus Hunt, that's going to be a big battle, and Marchant versus Voketi, that's also going to be a good one. Another guy to look out for is Nawa Kwanitawase. I'm getting better at saying that name every single week. He's also a great guy to watch. Up front, the ginger Mr. T, that's what I call him. Harry Johnson Holmes, he's back in the side. They missed him a little bit with scrum times. Dempsey, he's at number 8, and he's joining Hooper and Swinton just to increase that loose forward combination they have. It's going to be an interesting battle in the loose forwards though, because they are going up against Papali'i, Gibson and Satutu. Satutu really impressive last weekend. This is 2 loose forward combinations that's really working well. The Blues, they also brought in Carl Tuanakwafe to just strengthen up their front rowers. The bench players to look out for in this match, the Waratahs, they have Marua, who's going to make his debut for the side, and of course Jack Maddox, who came over from the Rebels. Played his first one last weekend and is still kind of finding his feet for the side. For the Blues, they have the old man Parsons. He's still there. Tuunga Fasi just to strengthen up that All Blacks contingent in the side. Tom Robinson, Big Red, also there. Akira Ioane, he's back from his injury, and Narawa. Looking at the teams, I think the Blues still look more promising. The Waratahs, it still looks like it's gonna be a tough year for them. The Blues will probably dominate the 10, 12 and 13 facets of play, and that's just a crucial core of the team. So I think that's going to be crucial for tries for them, and it might be tough for the Waratahs to defend that one. I think the Blues will win on the road. I think so, with 9 points. Then it is the Lions versus the Reds. Both teams come off losses last weekend. The Lions totally outplayed with 30 points last weekend against the Jaguares, and then the Reds just losing by 3 points. So just looking at that, only that, the Reds are probably favourites if you only look at that. The Reds, though, they are in Johannesburg, and teams generally struggle when travelling to South Africa, especially to the Highveld, Johannesburg and Pretoria and those places. The last time the Reds won in Johannesburg is back in 2011. That's quite a long time ago. But over the last 10 games these two teams have played, it's quite 50-50. But the last 5 games they've played, 3 of them, the Lions have won. Looking at the lineups and just looking at the key matchups and players over there, from the front, the Reds, they changed the hooker, Mafi, coming in for Painga Amosa, who is injured. It's quite an even trade for me. But they also brought in Rodda in the second row, and that just increases their front pack quite immensely. Him with Tupou, Salakaya, Lotto, Wright, and Wilson, that's now just a lot of strong carriers in the loose facets of play, strong carriers to take the ball forward. For the Lions, they change nothing up front at all. Is it a good decision though after getting a hammering last weekend? Time will tell. The only real threats in the open field for them is Chituka and Masain, but that's about it. At line-out time, they will probably have pressure on their mauls caused by Rodda. He's very good at putting pressure on the opposition mauls. Scrums might be pretty even as well. For the back line, the Lions, they have two changes. They have Van der Berg coming in at number 9. I don't know too much about him. Warner is out injured, so this young guy needs to be put under pressure, and he needs to perform under this pressure. Then Kutsia, he comes back in number 15. That's just experience coming back in there, and the Lions backline does need it. For the Reds, they have James O'Connor in number 10. That was kind of a blind side for me. I don't think the Lions would have prepared for this one, so might catch them out of guard for a little bit, but hey, they still have a couple of days. For the Lions, though, they have Yankees to counteract him. He's one of the experienced lads in the side. The Reds, they also brought in Stewart. He's in the side now. It's going to be a big battle on the wings for me with Green and Spate going up against each other. On the bench, I think the key players over there is Sadi for the Lions, big scrummager over there. And then for the Reds, they have Sorovi and Lucas, basically two scrum halves. But Lucas playing number 10 last weekend, it's two quick guys to bring onto the park. If you feel your team needs a little bit of energy boost at the end of the game, they're going to bring them on. Getting to the prediction, honestly, it won't be a surprise if the Reds actually do win this one. On paper, they are the stronger side, and I won't be surprised if Brad Thorne's men did target this game, especially with the Lions being kind of the weaker South African side at the moment. But how Yankees plays for the Lions is going to be an absolutely crucial part of this game. He can be up and down sometimes. He could win this game all by himself, but the backline is still very dangerous. So if he gets his game going, this backline can really do some damage to any team. There's just a few newish combos in this team. I'm looking at Krill and with Matthews in the center, so that's just the big issue I have with the Lions at the moment. They might go down to the wire in this game, but I think the Lions, being at home, will win by 7. Then the big South African derby for the weekend. It is the Stormers versus the Bulls. It is two teams that are basically favourites to challenge the Jaguares in the South African conference this year. And especially after the Bulls lost last weekend, they really need a win now if they want to continue trying to challenge for that. They don't want to start off their season with 2 losses. The results last weekend, the Stormers, they completely shut out the Hurricanes. That's I was talking earlier this week, that's a more impressive thing. The 27, they have 2 interception tries. The score might look a little bit better than it should have, but they shut out one of the best attacking teams there is in Super Rugby, and that is what's the impressive part. The Bulls, they struggled a little bit to attack, so that might be a problem for them. But it is a new week. Everything could change, especially in a South African derby. History, though, it does favour the Stormers. 7 out of the last 10. The Stormers haven't lost at Newlands to the Bulls since 2011. If we look at the teams, just to look at the key matchups and key changes in the side, the Stormers, they have 2 injuries, 2 big injuries, with Kulisi and Mbunambi being out for quite a while. Kulisi, they're looking at 6 to 8 weeks. Mbunambi, I think it was a month. So they brought in Johan de Toey to replace Kulisi, and then Ntubeni to replace Mbunambi. The pack isn't much weaker, though, with those guys being out, I must say. They lose leadership with Kulisi not being there, but they still have a lot of leaders in that front pack. They do lose a bit of edge, though, at maul time, because Mbunambi is probably one of the best hookers when it comes to scoring tries from the back of the maul. You have seen it being done quite a few times. Looking at the Stormers pack, it is still a strong one. They have Kitshoff and Tubeni. Malabas, he's playing his 100th game this weekend, so that's extra for him. Murat, they also have Van Sail, Kutsia, Pieter Steef de Toey, and Johan de Toey then at the end. Strong team for them. Then the Bulls, they literally have one change up front. They brought in the Springbok Trevor Nyakane at prop. That's just to counteract the two Springboks from the Stormers, and I think this is going to be an interesting battle with two Springbok front rowers going up against each other, and this just strengthens the Bulls side. The Bulls do boast a strong pack as well. They have Kaboka, Ferrara, Krier and Strauss. Those guys are pretty good in the side. The line-out battle with Ferrara and Krier is going to be a difficult one for Murat and Van Sail because those guys are pretty good at challenging lineouts. Getting to the back line, the Willemse versus Steyn battle. I think this is going to be a very good one to watch. Steyn's ability just to get points for the Bulls and just stay calm under pressure, that's going to be crucial for him. Willemse, he's just want to challenge one of the guys he probably had a poster on his wall of. So I think it's going to be a good one. Then also Roberts versus Odendaal. I think that's going to be a good matchup in the back line as well. Out wide, both sides are littered with talent. They have Senatla, Peterson and Lades for the Stormers. Speckman, Hendricks, Gelant for the Bulls. I mean, both of those back threes can play any team. They are good enough. For the two teams, the benches, the Stormers, the guys to look out for, Wilco Low, international quality player, being mentioned to go to the Harlequins next year. They have Visa coming back from injury. Quibus Visa, great player to have back. Jarno Augustus also coming back from injury. Also a good player to have back at number 8 especially. For the Bulls, they have Papier, also a Springbok number 9, and Rousseau coming in, making the split for the Bulls now a 5-3 split on the bench, not a 6-2 split anymore. So 5 forwards, 3 backs. My prediction for this game, it is a big South African derby, so it can go any way. It would be physically grueling, this game. And the Bulls, they are playing their second time in a row a South African derby, so it might be difficult for them. The scrum could be pretty even with those two Bok front packs. The lineout's pretty tough to call as well, pretty even for me. Over the park though, just over the park in general, the Stormers pack is a little bit stronger. And then they have 6 forward replacements for the Stormers just to add that little bit of energy to the front pack again at the end of the game. The back lines are pretty even as well, with Roberts being the experience for the Stormers, Steyn being the experience for the Bulls. At the end of the day, the Stormers are at home. You have to back them at Newlands. I think that's an advantage for them. I think they'll win by 3. But it could be a close one here. Then to end off this video, it is the Jaguares versus the Hurricanes. The Jaguares, they started off their season with a thrashing of the Lions, 38-8, while the Hurricanes, they were held scoreless last weekend against the Stormers, 27-0. And the Hurricanes will want to win this game just to make up for that one. The travelling factor is a tough one for the Hurricanes though. They have travelled to South Africa last weekend and now they travel to Argentina this weekend. So that is a big factor in your prediction for this weekend as well. The history between the two sides, they've only played 3 times, twice going to the Hurricanes, but one of them that has mattered the most. Last year, the Hurricanes faced off against Jaguares, and the Jaguares won. If we look a little bit closer at the teams from the back, the Hurricanes only had one change, with Gordon Bishop coming in for Fletcher Smith. I like him a little bit more than I do like Fletcher Smith, but it's still not Bowden Barrett. But Smith was a little bit under pressure by the Stormers last weekend, and that's why the whole line kind of underperformed. So bringing in a new number 10, the Jaguares don't really know how to prepare for him because he didn't get a lot of game time last weekend. The line still is dangerous though, with Perenara, Laumape, Proctor, Lamb, Goosen, Jordy Barrett. It's just a lot of star power over in the back line. For the back line for the Jaguares, they made 3 changes, with Miotti coming in for Bonilla. Bonilla, he was injured in the 6th minute last weekend, so Miotti basically played the whole game last weekend, and he really stepped up to the plate every time the Jaguares has needed him to really play a good game. I'm thinking of games where they were really in trouble. He's really delivered. He's still young and he is very promising. At 12, they have De La Fuente back in the side, and he is also captain of the side, while they also put in Cancelliere over Dalgier in the side. It is a strong backline with guys like Carreras also in the team, Boffelli in the side, and Moroni last weekend in centre did really well. For my fantasy side, he did really well. He was in my dream team. That was a good pick for anyone that had him in there. Up front, they only made one change for the Hurricanes. They brought in Aumua in front of Riccitelli. Further, the pack is unchanged. They were totally outplayed against the Stormers. Bar Karifi. Karifi played quite well. I don't know if this is the best decision, but look, they're supposed to be playing a little bit better. The Stormers pack is just very strong. Then we look at the forward pack for the Jaguares. They only made one change themselves as well. They brought in Bruni over Lozana. The rest of the pack remains the same, a strong, unchanged pack. If we look at the benches, the strong players that are on the benches, Riccitelli, Fafita and Booth on the bench for the Hurricanes. Then the Jaguares, I can basically mention the whole bench. Creevy, Chaparro, Ortega, Decio, Lozana, Bertonau, all of them very good players to bring off your bench. Going into the prediction for this one, the Jaguares are in better form. While the Hurricanes were outplayed last weekend, they will need to get back on their feet and find form again. They will score more tries this weekend, but it is the Jaguares at home. They've kind of made a little bit of a fortress over there at the moment, so I think the Jaguares will win by 7. Okay guys, that's it for the Saturday predictions. If you want to check out any of the other videos, it will be popping up here next to me. Check out the Superbru prediction pools and then enjoy this weekend's rugby. Cheers.